The Israel-Hamas conflict escalates with every passing minute and there is no end in sight. In Gaza, the number of civilian casualties is increasing every day. Hospitals in Gaza are struggling and infrastructure in large parts of the Gaza Strip stands reduced to rubble. In such a scenario, questions and points of view have risen on the future of Gaza after the war. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said the people of Gaza will be offered a real future after the destruction of Hamas. This comes after Netanyahu said that Israel will take control of the security responsibility of Gaza. However, when asked about who will replace Hamas in the seat of government, the Prime Minister said he is not interested. Only thing he wants is to oversee that a group like Hamas does not emerge again. On the other hand, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has vowed to rebuild damaged infrastructures. Erdogan says Turkey will make efforts to rebuild the destroyed schools, hospitals, water and energy facilities. He slammed the Western leaders for supporting Israel. Earlier, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken proposed the revitalized Palestinian Authority to have governance in Gaza, which is opposed by Israel's right. However, he added, if it is not achieved, then there are other temporary arrangements that may include a number of other countries in the region. It may also include international agencies that help provide security and governance. The question of providing governance in the Strip and agreeing to the difficult plan of reconstruction is still a major challenge for world leaders. Peter Kuznick is a professor of history and director of the Nuclear Studies Institute at American University. He is now joining us live from Washington, D.C. Professor, welcome to the program, and it's good to see you.
Glad to be with you.
There have been many speculations of what happens to Gaza once the conflict is over. Israel says they will take charge of security, while Palestinian Authority says they are keen on taking thought. In your view, who is most ideal person or even authority to govern the Strip?
The most ideal would have been if this hadn't happened in the first place. As we know, Gaza is a mess now. So much of the infrastructure, so much of the buildings, hospitals, schools have been simply leveled. It's going to require a massive infusion of funds to rebuild there. We don't know. I mean, nobody seems to have a good answer, including the Israelis. One of the things the American officials warned the Israelis about is not to go in there with the same kind of blind rage that the U.S. went into Afghanistan and Iraq after the 9/11 incident here. But they didn't follow America's advice. They didn't have a game plan. They don't even know how this is going to end, and they don't know what's going to happen afterwards. The Palestinian Authority is corrupt, does not have popular support. There doesn't seem to be any other force within Gaza that can play that role. Mm-hmm. Good thing is that the world is putting more pressure than we've seen in decades to go toward a two-state solution. The Palestinians will have to elect their own leaders afterwards. But we know also there are many Israelis and some in the cabinet who want to see Gaza completely eliminated, or at least the Palestinians moved out of Gaza. So the situation is very, very unstable, and we don't know what's going to happen next. We just hope that the next arrives quickly, because what's happening now is horrific.
Professor Peter, obviously there will be a lot of rebuilding and reconstruction needed in Gaza after the war. What do you think of Turkey's offer?
Which offer now we're talking about?
The Turkish president said that he's offering to... Yes,
Erdogan.
Yes.
Erdogan it was just in Germany, and he and Scholz openly disagreed. Erdogan does not refer to Hamas as terrorists. It refers to them as resistance fighters. So Erdogan has been very, very critical of Israel, and in a way that was condemned by Scholz and other Western leaders. The fact that he's talking about Turkey playing an active role in rebuilding Gaza afterwards is a positive sign. We haven't heard much of that from anybody else. We do know that the Gulf countries are fairly wealthy countries. They could invest heavily if they chose to do so. But a lot of it depends on what Israel is willing to allow. And we don't know that. The situation is unstable in part because it looks like Netanyahu will also be out. And Netanyahu might be out soon. And his extreme right-wing government is not popular. In fact, if they had been doing their job, this Hamas assault would not have been possible in the first place. So much like the George W. Bush administration was caught asleep on 9/11 and ignored all the warning signs, Netanyahu did the same. And so Netanyahu is being blamed by much of the Israeli public for what occurred. So the question will be not only what happens in Gaza, but what happens in Israel. What is the next Israeli government going to look like? Are they going to be extreme right-wingers like the current one? Or are they going to be a little bit more moderate and open to working with the Palestinians to achieve some kind of stable solution there, some kind of enduring two-state solution? And if that's the case, then we can find ways to begin to rebuild Gaza.
All right. Professor Peter Kuznick, thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.